We've long told you about activist judges undermining Trump's immigration policies, but this next story is outrageous. A district court judge in Massachusetts is accused of helping an illegal immigrant sneak out a back door to avoid being deported. Here's the backstory. Jose Medina Perez of the Dominican Republic was in court on drug charges and also faced a fugitive warrant for drunk driving. In a new audio recording obtained by the Boston Globe, his defense attorney is heard at the bench with the prosecutor and Judge Shelley Joseph. They raised doubt about whether Medina Perez had been correctly identified by ICE and whether he should be set free. Listen.
I don't think it's him.
ICE is convinced that this guy, I went through the research, there's 13 alien laws connected to this situation. So something is bad. The client denies that it's him. ICE is watching. But I think the best thing for us to do is create a fugitive issue and use them on personal.
If you need more time to figure this out until tomorrow, this is going to happen. What if we continue?
Larry, can you go off the record for a moment?
Now, minutes after that recording, witnesses say the illegal was escorted out a back door and then released from custody. He then scaled a fence and escaped. We should note he has not been caught. Joining me now, Leo Terrell, a civil rights attorney, and Brian Kelly, a former federal prosecutor in Massachusetts. Brian, I want to start with you. How unique is it to have a federal investigation into a sitting state court judge on an issue such as this?
Well, it's not common at all, Laura. It's a bizarre set of facts, right? The defendant is arrested on drug charges. He's been deported twice before, and then because, for whatever reason, the judge turns off the tape recorder, contrary to court rules. We don't really know what she says next. Next thing you know, he's running out the back door onto the streets of Boston. So I think, even by Massachusetts standards, this is a little bit too much judicial activism, and it's led to, according to the Boston Globe, a federal investigation, a grand jury investigation, and that in and of itself is quite unusual.
Well, he has since been caught. I want to make sure I get that right. So he's since been caught, but the underlying facts of this are really disturbing. Governor Charlie Baker spoke out about this. Leo, I want your reaction. Let's watch.
The facts of this case, as presented by the media, indicate a willful attempt to obstruct the work of a federal law enforcement official, and that's an inappropriate role for a judge.
Now, I guess Judge Shelley has not been on the bench very long, but nevertheless, Leo, would you say, Judge Joseph, would you say that this is warranted? Is this extrajudicial conduct? I mean, when you look up activist judge, this is really activist judge. It's not just a ruling. This is go.
Well, Laura, hi. Thanks for having me. And first of all, we're going after the judge. What about the prosecutor, the defense attorney, and the officer who allowed him out to escape? I find this really odd because, as the governor said, based on the facts from the public, where's the investigation of the district attorney and the prosecutor? Wasn't there a conspiracy when they all got before the judge and said all these things? So I think my colleague who's on the show is ignoring the prosecutor who represents the state of Massachusetts and the defense attorney. Why single out the judge? Why? I'm confused. And one other point.
Does the judge not have control of his own courtroom?
Why?
Brian.
Well, I think people expect a judge to uphold the law, interpret the law, but not subvert the law. So I think the focus is on the judge right now because it's such a bizarre set of facts. And so that's why I think the judge is under investigation. We don't know what the grand jury will find. Apparently, according to the Boston Globe, they are investigating. They're hearing different witnesses. So who knows where it will lead. But this is not what taxpayers who pay their salary.
Are you on national TV? Are you on national TV saying that it was just the judge and nobody else? And you know as well as I do, being a federal prosecutor, that there got to be some evidence where the judge actively instructed someone, and you're just speculating right now. And we don't, as attorneys,
wait a minute.
We're speculating.
Look, there's evidence on the record where she says ICE is going to get him, and then in violation of the court rules, she turns off the tape recorder. And she doesn't turn off the tape recorder because she thinks she's obeying the court rules. She knows she's doing something, it seems, that's not appropriate. And next thing you know, the defendant, an illegal alien, is running out the back door into the streets of Boston.
Well,
now,
yeah,
this
he knew what he was getting here. He was getting a get out of, literally getting a get out of deportation free card. Okay, that's what he was getting.
Well, here,
if this defendant,
and Laura. What about? Why don't we just get the prosecutor on the Laura Ingraham show, the prosecutor and the defense attorney, and say, what did the judge say? We got direct evidence.
Look, Leo, I love you, and if you want to be my booker, Andrew will not be happy about that. Okay, let me just say that. But we could, and we'll always take booking help. And I love that. But here's the problem: is in Massachusetts we have at least some of the counties are sanctuary counties. Boston itself is a sanctuary city, correct? So this is kind of in the DNA now of Boston, that you don't want to release people out the front door of the courtroom because ICE is going to, on occasion, we hope more than on occasion, be there to arrest them once they're released. And they know that. Right. That's why they go out the back door. Sneak out the back door.
I guess we now have sanctuary courtrooms.
Good point.
Well, let me just say this. Based on that, well, if you are having a sanctuary city, you have just stated that every official who endorsed a state-sponsored sanctuary city should be arrested for failing to cooperate with ICE. That's what you're basically saying.
That might go a little far, but not. Well, you're getting warm. You're getting warm, Leo. All right, great debate, you guys. Thanks so much. And with the Christmas season comes what? Santa, candy canes, headaches from shopping, nativity scenes? Well, but this year, instead of being surrounded by adoring animals, baby Jesus is surrounded by a cage. That's right. Why are we in Massachusetts again? Massachusetts church is trying to send a message about Trump's immigration policy by putting the baby Jesus in a big square cage. Where are the three wise men? Separated by a metal fence, reading the book Deportation. Here's the pastor defending this decision.
65 million refugees worldwide seeking a better way of life. And we were wondering what that might look like 2,000 years ago if this family encountered the same dynamics that are taking place in our own country right now.
First of all, if he's a priest, where's his collar? Although I like the plaid, looking good, but could we find a collar? And that's not the first time, by the way, this church has waded into politics. Last year, that same nativity scene had baby Jesus surrounded by a list of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history. Joining me now with reaction, Dan Bongino, host of the Dan Bongino Show. Dan, how is this? This is literally separating church and state with the cage, right? Maybe that's where we are?
You know, Laura, I read an interesting piece a while ago about how the government had this really incredible success with stopping smoking. And the reason they did was because everyone out there knew someone who smoked, right? So they knew how to talk to those people. It was a mom, a dad, a brother, right? The problem with liberals is, as in with this case, the priest and the folks in the church said, well, we were just looking to spark a conversation. This way? Like, why when liberals want to spark a conversation, do they always do it in the worst way possible, like taking advantage of a nativity scene? It reminds me of, like, the Kaepernick case, right? He takes a knee. Okay, you want to talk about police use of force, fine. But he puts a pair of socks on with cops depicted as pigs. It's just like, listen, we can talk about immigration. But clearly liberals have not learned that putting a cage around baby Jesus is probably not the way to, quote, spark a conversation.
In some parts of the country, they had to actually kind of put baby Jesus and have ties to the ground because people would steal the baby Jesus. I mean, people would take the wise men, that's why a live nativity scene is always better. It's harder to physically take the people and the animals, but they actually will steal them. So at first when I saw it, I think, oh God, they really need a lot of security here for the manger scene, but they're trying to make a point. All right, so the lefty priest says this in the Boston Globe. We thought we would kind of put a mirror image of what it would look like if this happened 2,000 years ago. It's kind of a mirror image of where we are at today. Move over, Thomas Aquinas. What? I don't even understand that. Yeah. What is he talking about? He needs a mirror and...
Go ahead. 2,000 years ago, Laura, we didn't have the Airbus. or the 747, okay? There wasn't a way to transport millions of people into a sovereign nation at any given time. Listen, with all due respect, I'm a practicing Catholic. I love my faith. My wife is an immigrant to this country. I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm anti-law breaking. You have to come here legally like my wife did. This isn't a complicated argument. And one more thing, to the liberals, do you have to be a blowtorch on everything? Do you have to blow up? And I mean, they've destroyed Halloween. Halloween now, every costume, every parent has to worry if it's cultural appropriation. You couldn't wear the Black Panther costume, apparently, if your kid wasn't black. This was an actual controversy. They blew up Thanksgiving for colonialism or whatever liberal victimhood of the day. Can we just leave baby Jesus alone?
They're not fun people.
Friends don't let friends mess with baby Jesus. Just leave baby Jesus alone. Let us enjoy Christmas. I'm begging you. Just give us one holiday.
Dan, there's no room at the inn for baby Jesus, and there's no room in America for the thousands and thousands of people in Tijuana. Okay, it's a mirror image, as this priest said. No wonder fewer people are going to church. Stick with the gospel and leave the theatrics and the props to other people. Dan, thank you so much. And when it comes, coming up, we have a related topic. More Christmas songs are being added to the Do Not playlist this year. We're going to examine the body language also at George H.W. Bush's funeral, some are talking about. That and Seen and Unseen with Raymond Arroyo next.